Hello and welcome to Movie Film Studios, the only podcast that takes you inside the mind of two film studio executives as we unravel and then re-ravel the best that Hollywood has to offer. I'm Isaac.
And I'm AJ, and this week we gotta go fast because we're being pursued by a killer croc who has a complicated relationship with a celebrity. But before we get into something new, it's time for something old as we check in on our last feature in Box Office Report.
Last week we released the film Deliver Us,
yes.
a closed location creature thriller about the dangers of consumerism in the modern world.
Yeah.
How did that pan out?
So we discussed using Amazon stuff, and surprisingly Jeff Bezos was fine with it.
Okay.
Actually funded the film as well, so we've got it highlighted on Amazon Prime right now. The thing is, I decided that we should do a bit of a marketing tie-in with the name of the film, Deliver Us, and I thought what better way to illustrate the concept of delivery than pizza delivery.
Okay.
Got in contact with Pizza Hut, said, hey, let's do a thing. A meal deal where you order your Super Supreme and you get a limited edition pizza box with on the inside a kind of curse in there or something fun related to the film. So we got those. All the curses got put into the boxes. Then people started ordering, and can you guess what happened?
I can't.
Just food poisoning.
Food poisoning?
Just a lot of food poisoning, yeah. Turns out the ink was not food safe.
See, what I thought you were going to say is that we got the little robot dudes from the film Deliver Us just to go around delivering pizza, and they ended up just getting their heads smashed in by people with golf clubs because they thought that the creature was there to destroy them. It was just food poisoning from ink.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
So the film's all right. It's on Amazon Prime, and you know, with Amazon and with Netflix, they never show anyone how well the film has done, so it could have done really well.
Right, so they're refusing to release to us the ratings for the film.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So if we end up doing a film on Netflix next week where we're in the director, what did we call it? The
Purgatory?
The director's purgatory on Netflix, then we know that the film has not gone well on Amazon. But if we are not on Netflix next week, then I guess the film's doing fine.
I don't like this feeling.
I know, it's ominous.
I suppose the digital distribution platforms like Netflix and Amazon haven't been around long enough for us to really have seen sequels.
Yeah.
But I really wanted an 80s style slasher franchise to be spawned out of this.
Yeah.
And now I feel like Amazon's got its grimy little head. I feel dirty with his dirty Jeff Bezos money.
They're going to spin it off into a TV series like they did with Hannah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and no one will like the TV series.
They actually made a pilot for a Zombieland TV series
they did too,
many years ago,
yeah.
which never got picked up because it looked
didn't.
really bad. It didn't have any Ed Harris or
Bill Murray, no Emma Stone, no
Abigail Breslin,
the weirdo from Social Network.
No Mark Zuckerberg.
Yep. All right, on to this week in trailers. And first trailer for you today is Sonic the Hedgehog, directed by Jeff Fowler and starring Ben Schwartz, Jim Carrey, and James Marsden.
Gotta go fast.
What the? Gotta go fast.
Minutes ago, an energy surge knocked out power across the entire Pacific Northwest. This needs someone who can figure out exactly what we're dealing with.
You're not suggesting who I think you're suggesting.
We have no choice.
What the? Are you in charge here?
Yes, I am.
Nope!
I'm
wrong. I'm in charge.
Allow me to clarify. In a sequentially ranked hierarchy based on level of critical importance, the disparity between us is too vast to quantify. Agent Stone?
The doctor thinks you're basic.
Listen, pal, I don't know if you realize
I'm sorry, Major. What was your name?
Benny. Nobody cares.
So the internet has collectively lost its shit over this film.
But that could go either way. You could say you lose its shit as if they really like it. This is an angry losing of shit.
That's right. So, I mean, back in March, there was a leak of what Sonic was going to look like via a promotional company who accidentally put up a slide deck of the Sonic the Hedgehog marketing, and it had some sort of beauty renders of what Sonic was going to look like. The rumors were going around that's like, oh, it's an old thing, it's not the most up-to-date design, yada yada yada. Then the trailer comes out and it's like, oh no, it's exactly like that, and it's a horrifying, horrible mess of a design for this hedgehog who's been around since the days of Mario as well. Like, he's an old character. He has a very specific look.
What I can tell, though, the only real difference between the trailer that they've released and what Sonic should look like is his head should be bigger and his legs should be skinnier.
And his eyes should be bigger, and he should be wearing gloves, and his shoes should... Like, I'm not even a Sonic fan, and I'm horrified by this. He just looks weird. And when he opens that mouth and shows off those pearly white human teeth... Oh, it's gross. It's gross. It looks like a really skinny guy in a weird, like, furry jumpsuit.
Yeah, they've given him like sprinter's legs, like Usain Bolt legs, rather than like the spaghetti noodles that he has in the video game.
Exactly.
And for some people, I was never going to watch this film. I've never played a Sonic game.
Yep.
So I don't care. But the issue is, I don't know who the film's for. So there must be a very small selection of the public that are diehard Sonic fans that are definitely want to go watch this film. But like the humor in this film feels like it's geared towards maybe 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I don't know any 6-year-olds who have ever played a Sonic game. So the people that the film's made for are never going to be the people who care about like the continuity of the character design. So
see, a film like this is supposed to appeal to people that have been long-time Sonic fans in the same way that Detective Pikachu kind of does. So Detective Pikachu tells a story that is great for kids, but also there's the thrill of adults seeing these characters interacting with humans, you know, characters we've only seen in cartoon or video game form for the past decade or so. But Sonic doesn't have any of that. It has a really generic story. It has really bad visuals. It has really bad jokes.
They spent about a third of this trailer introducing Jim Carrey, who plays Dr. Robotnik.
Yes.
And he's having a weird conversation with, I think the actor's name's Neil McDonough.
Yep.
He was in Band of Brothers and Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, and they are the two most notable acting performances of his career.
Yep.
And I think you pointed out when watching the trailer, it's really just to show off that Jim Carrey's in this film and he's doing his Jim Carrey style of humor.
Yeah.
The scene isn't funny. No. It doesn't make me want to go see the trailer, but instead of like, you know how you sometimes see scenes in trailers and it's like, this scene was written into the film so it can be in the trailer.
Yep.
This trailer has none of those.
Yeah, I know.
And they're just like, how are we going to market it? Why don't we show them the bit that Jim Carrey does his weird improv style of acting, and maybe some of the people who like Jim Carrey might go and watch this film. No one's going to go watch this.
The
this
weird
is
thing as well,
slammed.
again, going to the Sonic fan thing, like right at the end of the trailer, there's like a bit of static and like the screen goes all weird, and then it flashes back up and it's got Jim Carrey as a more traditional looking Dr. Robotnik.
With like the zigzaggy
big,
long
bushy mustache
and the red aviator goggles.
Crazy goggles and stuff, and it's just like, again, like, is this like a little Easter egg for the fans to say, don't worry, we haven't screwed this royally?
Because before he just had like a curly Poirot style mustache and very sort of like standard glasses. It's just like, oh, you know, this is a rethinking of this cartoonish villain, and they're like, oh no, we're turning him to the cartoonish villain later on in the film. Don't you worry.
It's weird.
Also, Sonic has a line in here, it's like, I'm here to save your planet. As if to say it's not his planet. And I just kind of always assumed he was from Earth, but in this one,
apparently
like
not.
the rings that he collects act like interdimensional portals or something like that. He may or may not be an alien.
This is, again, it's one of those things that we're going to the Super Mario Brothers curse again, where they have to try so hard to justify the craziness of the video games in a real world concept, or context rather. So all these things that you take for granted in the video games, like Sonic running around rings and like running fast and this and that, need to have some kind of real world basis for some reason. It's like, why? Detective Pikachu doesn't need this. It's just like Pokemon exist in the world, and that's the world of Pokemon. It's not anything more than that. Like, no one cares. No, we don't need to explain why Pokemon are in this world. They're just there.
The other thing that's worth noting with this one is this is not the first film that James Marsden of X-Men Cyclops fame has had to interact with a small fuzzy creature.
Yeah.
He was in a film called Hop a number of years ago about the Easter Bunny. I think the Easter Bunny was voiced by Russell Brand.
Yes.
And it was him in live action. And I think you were saying there's even shots of him driving in a car with a small fuzzy creature sitting next to him. And it's shot for shot exactly the same from Hop and Sonic.
This is film 2 of Marsden's Furry Animals in Cars trilogy.
I quite like him as an actor.
Yeah, I do too.
And
he's quite good.
He makes horrible choices for films. He's still working though, so good on him.
Anyway, enough about that film. Onto a film that might not be as terrible, in Crawl, directed by Alexandre Aja and starring Kaya Scodelario and Barry Pepper.
Thank God the Barry Pepper's in there. Starring Scodelario and Barry Pepper.
The state of Florida has issued a Category 5 hurricane warning. All residents must evacuate immediately. Grab your families, your loved ones, and get out.
Dad!
We won't be able to come for you.
Dad! Oh my God. What happened?
So, this is... they make a big deal of saying that this film is produced by Sam Raimi, obviously, of horror fame and the horror that was Spider-Man 3. Basically, there's a flood coming. There's a big storm coming
in the American South.
In Florida, I think.
So it's very sort of Hurricane Katrina-esque, where they have those big sort of tropical cyclones that tend to flood the Mississippi Delta. Let's just say that.
Why not? And basically, they order the town to evacuate, or the state to evacuate. I don't know if they're evacuating the whole state, but just this region. A very well-to-do region, by the way. This is not the Florida of back alleys and swamps and huts and stuff. This is the well-to-do part of Florida. And this woman goes back to her house to try and find her dad, who seems to be missing, to try and get him out and evacuate him. Finds out that he's gone beneath the house, and something terrible has happened to him down there. Turns out there's giant alligators.
A giant alligator.
Giant alligator, yeah.
Yeah, it's a creature film. It's a giant alligator.
Yeah.
That's like simultaneously small enough to fit in the basement when it's flooded, but giant enough to like essentially eat cars whole. Like it's a weird thing. You actually pointed out the very first moment where they're in the dark and like something grabs someone's leg and drags them off. It's like, is that a giant alligator? I'm like, no, there couldn't be anything that silly. And like the rest of the trailer is shots of just the giant alligator in a way where a lot of these creature film trailers like try and get you build the suspense by never showing you the creature itself. Yeah, they don't care. In this one, they're showing the.
I think the reason why this probably works a little bit better is because you take like one part Poseidon Adventure and one part what's that?
Lake Placid?
Deep Blue Sea, maybe?
Deep Blue Sea, Lake Placid.
Yeah, because you've got the threat of the floodwaters sort of constantly coming in and sort of muddying up the whole area, making things quite turbulent. So you can't see where the creature is coming from. So I guess that's where the surprise comes from. You don't need to hide the creature anymore because it can just be underwater. And I guess that's why they show it in this trailer, because it's not about not knowing what the creature is. It's more about not knowing when it will strike next.
Do you reckon if Spielberg had access to really bad CG technology back in 1975, he would have shown more of Jaws? Do you think it was just an accident that the suspense is that we never see it? Because the moment the technology's there, they're just like, look how big and crazy and...
Well, I mean, like, the story goes that they obviously had to hide...
Oh, like, specifically, it was a horrible rubber prop.
The Jaws prop was terrible, and they had to cover it up, and so Spielberg very cleverly did that, and he sort of matured in Jurassic Park when he had to do the exact same thing. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
You have answered my question in saying he did Jurassic Park, and he handled showing the dinosaurs very tastefully with CG.
Indeed.
Anyway, question answered. George Lucas, on the other hand, completely different answer to the same question.
Anyway, so yeah, this looks like a kind of fun creature film. We haven't had one of these for a little while.
The Meg, I think, was the last one that really came along.
This is moderately realistic, I guess.
Yeah. There's a point in the trailer here, I'm like, oh, is this just going to be a story about a father and a daughter trying to survive during a terrible weather event?
Storm, yeah.
I was like, oh no, there's also giant alligators.
Yeah,
so.
that's right. And like gratuitous death of rescue workers who try and come and rescue them as well. Yeah. It's great. Like, we'll see how it goes. I believe at one point her arm gets bitten. And I could have sworn I heard the cartoon chomp sound effect as well.
There's a lot of points there where she definitely gets bitten and dragged away.
Yeah.
And then she's back in the next scene fighting the alligator. Yeah. And then maybe there's multiple alligators. Maybe there's multiple hers.
Well, they show a bit where like the cracked eggs are all open.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
they also show a bit where they blow the alligator's head off with a handgun.
Oh, really?
Because like it chomps on her hand as she's holding the handgun.
Yep.
And she fires the gun and explodes its head from the inside out.
Right.
And I'm like, do you still have a hand? Did you just kill the main evil bad guy?
Was this the end of the film?
It was in the middle of the trailer, so
right.
who knows? But I think you're right there. You mentioned that there's a scene where there's broken eggs everywhere.
Yeah.
It reminded me quite a lot of the Matthew Broderick Godzilla.
Yeah. And even Jurassic Park as well. There's a bit where Sam Neill holds up the eggs and talks about life finding a way.
Alligators find a way. The main girl in this one, we have talked about her before. She's from the really bad Pirates of the Caribbean 5. She was Effie in Skins. She's been around.
Kaya Scodelario. I believe is how you pronounce that name. Maybe. I don't know. It sounds Italian, and I'm going to be very ashamed.
Sounds Italian. She's English, playing an American. Always seems to work out well.
Yeah. Anyway, on to the final film for this week's trailer, which is The Death and Life of John F. Donovan, directed by Xavier Dolan and starring, well, let me just read them out here. Kit Harington, Natalie Portman, Susan Sarandon, Kathy Bates, Ben Schnetzer, Jacob Tremblay, and in a scene completely cut from the film, Jessica Chastain.
We know how things started. He answered one of your fan letters, and then an unlikely correspondence began, etc., etc. Why don't you just back it all the way up to how things started with you and John F. Donovan?
I had just turned 11. Kids at school were mocking me for being a new guy.
Sorry.
My mom and I, we were barely speaking anymore. All my dreams had disappeared. The only one that had survived was John.
We'll get photo approval, right, Bob?
Yeah, and you're getting a pony for Christmas.
He, on the other hand, had everything. Fans, fame, love.
I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
That's the time around which some people started to wonder, was it all a lie?
I wrote a letter to John F. Donovan about 5 years ago. It was rather foolish of me to think he would answer, but he did. Now, I'm only 11 years old, but later I'll be like him, and we'll act in movies together.
Rupert, you made up that story.
I didn't!
You lied, and you lied for years.
I just didn't say anything!
Did you, or did you not, write letters to that kid?
Do you have a pen pal? Child pen pal. Do your job. Next.
This film is very, very ambitious. We'll see if we can actually try and break down, like we try and do a synopsis of what's happening in the films, but this almost seems impossible.
Yeah.
So it's a maybe like 10-year-old boy forms an unlikely pen pal relationship with
like a global celebrity
Kit
megastar.
Harington, who is like a megastar actor, rock star.
The titular John F. Donovan.
So they obviously, Kit Harington's character is going through the drug, sex, and rock and roll lifestyle.
Yep.
It is quite mentally disturbed, and they exchange ideas through this sort of pen pal relationship. We then sort of cut to the future where the kid's grown up and he's doing an interview with, I think it's Tandy Newton or about how he used to be the pen pal of this guy. And we cut back to the past and no one believes this kid when he's saying he's friends with this global megastar. And then we cut to Kit Harington's lifestyle as he's going through all this trauma, and then Michael Gambon shows up at some
I forgot
point
he was in this film as well. And he's literally, in the Wikipedia article for it, he's literally credited as man in restaurant. It
is a hugely ambitious film that tries to tell these weird, complicated stories about success and fame and imposter syndrome and the turbulent times growing up and sons' relationships with their mothers.
Yeah, homosexuality apparently is a bit of another topic in this film as well. It's bizarre. There's a thing where like the kid is talking about the letters and then his mother starts yelling at him that he's lying about it.
You're
and his
lying
teacher
and
says you made it up, and
you'll
like,
never write to him again. And
Yeah.
but then Kit Harington goes onto a talk show and says that he actually has a pen pal who was a kid. So this film is actually called The Life and Death of Kit Harington.
That's the death and life.
Death and Life
Yeah.
of Kit Harington. And so I get the sense that potentially the present where he's talking with Tandy Newton is after the death of the so it's
probably.
like the career and lives and like because the guy kind of reminds me a little bit of Michael Hutchins as well.
Yep.
Obviously Kit Harington doesn't look too dissimilar from
That's true, actually,
the Australian rock band's lead singer of In Excess,
Yep.
who committed suicide, I believe, in like the late 90s.
Yep.
So I feel as though there's a lot of things going on here. Suffice to say, apparently has been panned by critics.
Universally panned. We are looking at... So this film has sort of made the rounds in various film festivals and so on and so forth. It's due out in France. It's probably out now, actually. And it's currently sitting on a 13% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And honestly, based on the trailer, it's justified.
Yeah, I don't think it could have ever done...
Can I just
to the concept?
Can I just give you the quote from the Guardian review?
Yeah, go ahead.
A dubious mess, which is so on the money as a review, at least of the trailer. I can only imagine that the film is pretty much exactly the same. So don't go and see this film whenever it comes out.
I have to say though, because this is the final season of Game of Thrones.
Yes,
and it's nice. Well, it'd be nice to think that these guys who have spent the better part of a decade playing very loved characters could go on and have a career elsewhere. Kit Harington had a crack in... He played like Pompey.
Yeah.
He was in that one. He's had a crack with J.D. Harrington or whatever. What was the guy's name? His Death and Life.
John F. This film, yeah. John F. Donovan.
John F. Donovan. It's not working out for him.
No, I feel like if Orlando Bloom didn't exist back in the day that Pirates was around, Kit Harington would have been Orlando Bloom. But Orlando Bloom already exists. We don't need another bad actor doing horrible movies. Anyway, those are the 3 trailers for this week's episode. But of course, before we can do anything with those, we're going to have to take a little walk over to the green room. And here we are. Let's have a quick recap of this week's trailers. We have
a rebooted remake, reimagining of a classic 80s/90s video game.
Yep. We also have
a weather/creature-based survival film.
Yep. And finally, we have
an overly ambitious...
a dubious mess.
A dubious mess. Thank you, The Guardian. You've summarized it perfectly.
All right, I chose for last week's episode. What have you got for us?
I want to do like we like the life and times of a cat. No, I'm just kidding. I want to do the creature film. I really want to do the creature film.
Can I mentioned earlier in this episode that James Marsden was doing a trilogy of like riding in cars with CGI animal creatures. So I think this needs to be the third and final film in that trilogy.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yes,
it is still a weather/creature survival film.
It's definitely a survival film.
But he has a small fuzzy irreverence offsider.
Who in post-production, well after the film is pretty much locked, we're going to have to change the design of because no one likes it. All right, cool. So at least we've got our principal actor, which is time-saving to say the least. All right, so what do we do? Are we going for a? You know what I liked? Even though Crawl didn't go this way, I like the combination of realistic, weather-based natural event with something like bizarrely almost supernatural or like way smarter, way more intelligent than what it actually is. Because it almost feels like in Crawl the alligator is like a maniacal genius or something who can outsmart any human that it puts or that it comes across. So I kind of want to do that, but maybe push further into the wild craziness, considering we have a CGI animal companion for James Marsden.
I think one of the other things that struck me was just how real the weather event felt as well.
Yep.
Like the fact that area is constantly hit by those tropical storms, is constantly flooded. Is there another area of the world? I mean, I want
to go back to America and do another, like a Twister film, like a hurricane.
Well, to be fair, when you said driving in cars, I really thought of Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt and
in Twister,
and Carrie Elways,
yeah,
and their cyclone hunting,
cyclone hunters.
Did you forget that Carrie Elways?
I forgot Carrie Elways was in it.
Twister? Yeah.
All right, can we do that? Okay, so James Marsden and his CGI animal companion, like tornado hunters.
I think so.
Professional tornado hunters.
How are we going to make it different from Twister in that respect then?
So they've been chasing like Twisters for 20 years.
Yeah.
But this one's different. This one feels
different.
Super
Twister.
It's a super Twister because there's something in it this time.
Right.
So we're getting into Sharknado territory here.
We are doing a little bit of Sharknado. I'm thinking Geostorm as well. What if it's a man-made Twister? They've been doing weather experiments, and unbeknownst to them, there's some sort of like
government conspiracy to create a super weapon. So they're like nuclear bombs cause too much fallout. The nuclear radiation spreads around the world. It doesn't just hit the target that we want it to hit. A storm, however, a tornado, is very localized. It can do heaps of damage, and then that's it. No nuclear fallout, no half-life particles drifting around the world. Nice and clean. So the government has been experimenting on like instant tornadoes, super tornadoes for decades, right?
Yes.
And we go back, Area 50... No, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
CGI creature of James Marsden is from Area 51, escaped from Area 51 like 20 years ago, bumped into James Marsden, who was just driving down the road. He rescues him.
Are we not just making Paul at this stage?
Yes, we are. But as... anyway, all right, it doesn't have to be Area 51.
No, I like it. But I don't think it's an alien so much it is a genetically modified
creature. A la... So I know Sonic the Hedgehog is technically a hedgehog.
But nothing like a hedgehog.
So what's in a coyote?
Like a Wolverine? We can just call it the Wolverine.
No, so we can't do coyote either. Warner Brothers will sue the pants
It's true.
off us.
And that's I suppose that's a bit more where is it? Roswell, New Mexico is Area 51, right?
So armadillo.
Armadillo? It's not furry enough, right? It's got to have
a bandicoot.
I think that's also specifically Australian native marsupial. I'm not sure how many bandicoots there are in the Utah desert.
Yeah, that's a good point. What else lives out there? Turtles?
It's got to be furry, got to be fuzzy. You got to sell the plush toys.
Yeah, all right.
Keep naming me things. Groundhog.
Groundhogs. No, we can't do groundhogs.
Groundhog. Prairie dog.
Prairie dogs. We can reuse the CGI ones from Indiana Jones 4.
Oh, I forgot there were prairie dogs in that.
Yeah, there were prairie dogs in that for no reason whatsoever. All right, we'll do a fuzzy prairie dog.
I'm just going to put it out there right now. Maybe one of the craziest film starts we've ever come up with. a anthropomorphic talking CG prairie dog accompanies James Marsden on his hunt to chase down tornadoes that have been superficially enhanced by the government.
This is great because we open the film with like James Marsden driving down the road at night, and then suddenly like something flies in through his windshield and he's like freaking out. And it's what will happen? It's the what animal did we say it was?
It was a prairie dog.
Prairie dog. So the prairie dog, because it came from Area 51, it's a natural prairie dog, but it's been infected by some alien substance that they have
not
stored.
Alien. Come on. It's genetically. It's got to be genetic. We're not doing aliens.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. I want it to be. Again, going back to Wolverine a little bit, but like impervious to damage.
Yep.
So like it can like get hit by a car and not take any damage. It can fly through a windscreen and be perfectly fine. It can jump into a tornado and fly around like Superman.
So this is how they get together as well and become tornado chasers, because our good friend Prairie Dog, who we're going to call...
before we get into a name, is he like toddler sized like these other things, or is he prairie dog sized?
No, he's not prairie dog sized, because the genetic enhancement that the government did on him enlarged his eyes, enlarged all his limbs, and so he's now the size of like a small child.
And he's kind of got a bit of an extreme sports death wish because he is impervious to damage.
Yeah, and he's got a bit of like a mohawk hairdo style.
I think he probably wears aviator goggles as well because he's flying around in the tornado.
A lot. Yeah. All right, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So we can like enlarge him, make him kind of cute, because a side effect of the genetic enhancement is that they had to give him bigger eyes.
Yeah.
And just things with big eyes look cute. So
that's true. What do you call him? Like,
I don't know. Like,
I was about to say Crash because he crashes into thing. But you can't call him Crash Prairie Dog.
we'll call. No, so we need like Sonic.
Yeah.
Crash.
So Sonic's sound breaking the sound barrier.
Yep.
This is definitely like
what's wind?
Yeah, like no, this is like it was impervious. Like I was about to say adamantium, but again, I got Wolverines on the brain.
How many times you want to get sued in this episode? Yeah. Look, we'll figure out the name later. Okay. So it's not relevant now. But yeah, I think that
Tony Hawk.
Maybe James Marsden just calls him Tony after Tony Hawk, the skateboarder.
Could be.
And he'll be voiced by Tony Hawk.
He's got to have that onomatopoeic sort of smash, crash, bash.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah. All right. And he'll be voiced by Tony Hawk as well.
I'm not sure. Really? I suppose... Have you heard Tony Hawk speak?
He's not that good, is he? All right. We'll get some kind of like radical.
Yeah, so these things
person.
have Russell Brand, Seth Rogen, Ben Schwartz, I think is the voice of. So it's these kind of like, hey, I'm like alternate comedian and I'm real edgy and kind of funny.
It's true, yeah.
So who is that then? Who's
you know the comedian world more than I do. Who's around at the moment?
All we need to do is go on the Netflix and see what the latest stand-up
whoever's
special.
Done the latest. Yeah, all right, cool.
It's going to be...
What about that guy, not Jack Whitehall, he's too British. John Mulaney?
John Mulaney. There you go, you've got it. John Mulaney is the voice of Bash the Prairie Dog. It can't be Bash. Bop? Crunch.
Bob.
Crunch.
Crunch. Nah, look.
Sploosh. Skrnk.
Look, that'll be the last thing we come up with because that's also in the name of the film.
It's blank name Clang.
Yeah,
Crunk, Crunk, Skrnk.
Some 5-letter word.
I think it's Skrnk.
Yep,
Skrnk the Prairie Dog.
Yep. All right, cool. So, the Skrnk.
Can I just point out right now?
Yep.
I did choose the creature film, and we're definitely making a Sonic the Hedgehog film.
Not yet. Now we're going to get to the creature part of it.
All right, cool.
I mean, well, not really, but anyway.
The tornado is the creature.
The tornado is the creature, yes. So unlike Crawl, which the flood is kind of just a background element, this is the full thing, and because it's genetically enhanced, it can be a creature.
Yeah.
It's kind of sentient as well.
It is, in a way where it actually kind of tracks towards the largest living like populations and systematically destroys them.
Yep.
In a way that it's the scientists like it's almost as if it's displaying an intelligence of its own.
Yeah.
And it starts merging in with other tornadoes.
Yeah.
It starts sucking them in to form larger and bigger super tornadoes.
So after our intro sequence, we then do a 20 years later, James Marsden and Skrnk what was it? Skrnk are driving down the road. They spot like a tornado up ahead, and they're like, James Marsden's just like, all right, Skrnk, you know what to do. And like he winds down the window because they've got an old pickup truck. It's not new.
Oh, it's definitely an old pickup truck.
Piece of crap pickup truck. And then like Skrnk goes, ready! And then like pulls down his goggles. And then like, for some reason, he's got wing flaps. And he just sort of like opens up his arms and soars out the window straight into the tornado and starts like spinning around inside it. We do these like nice cut like close-up shots showing him zooming around in there. He's like yelling and screaming, having the time of his life. He's got like a GoPro strapped to his head as well. And this is why they are so successful at tornado hunting, because they can get footage that no one else can get.
Just as a sidebar, why do people hunt tornadoes?
I don't know.
What are they getting out of it?
I don't know.
I remember the thing from Twister was they wanted to release like this little thing of balls that they collected data, and so it's like a giant big crate of ping pong balls that had so they were scientists.
Yeah.
Is James Marsden a scientist, or do we not believe him as a scientist?
He's a renegade. No, he's a renegade scientist.
I believe him as a rogue journalist who's trying to marry Katherine Heigl, but.
Look, I don't know. Maybe he just thinks he's got that like brash American kind of like, I'm doing important research.
Like,
but really,
everyone ridiculed me for years because they didn't believe my theory about that tornadoes are sentient, and now there is a giant sentient tornado. Yeah. Who's laughing now?
Maybe he's been collecting data. Maybe this is the thing. Maybe like 10 years ago, he saw what looked like a very strange tornado, and he started picking up various readings in all the other different tornadoes he's been tracking. He's like, something doesn't feel right here, and like
He's definitely going to do a better American accent than that. Though,
Absolutely,
right? Sure.
yeah. My speciality is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anyway, so he is like picking up like weird traces, and he's been chasing this. He's been doing the tornado chasing for 20 years, but for the last 10 years, he's been tracking rumors of a super tornado that doesn't seem like the others. This tornado, by the way, definitely breaks out of the scientific facility that's been held in.
Yes. All right. So he's caught a glimpse of like the tests of the early. Right.
Yeah.
And then we have this sort of tie in there where Skrnk is also from the same research facility.
Yeah.
And so I suppose then we need to cast an arch nemesis.
Yeah, no, it'll be some kind of military person, and we'll make it like a female, so it's not like Sonic the Hedgehog that it's dominated by a completely male cast.
Yeah. But how are we going to get a weird zigzaggy mustache on a female lead protagonist?
It doesn't matter. We'll put the zigzaggy mustache on the tornado. It doesn't matter.
I mean, we have talked quite a lot about it being a little bit goofy and a little bit tongue-in-cheek.
Yep.
I kind of really want to pare that down.
Oh,
and so, like,
serious character
it is
actors.
serious, like very serious. Like we start really serious.
Yep.
Maybe in some of the flashbacks when we meet Skrnk for the first time, it's a little bit. He's a little bit goofy and wacky, and let's go fast.
Yeah.
But then, sort of like after 20 years of chasing tornadoes.
By the way, his catchphrase is "Let's go speedy."
No. It's like you can't hurt me because he doesn't want to go fast. It's like come at me, bro. What's his like? Hit me with your best shot.
Yeah, that's it. It'll be hit me with your best shot, and then we'll also like co-opt the song as well.
The soundtrack in the back of the Sonic film trailer
Paradise.
is Gangsta's Paradise
by Coolio for some reason.
This is going to be Pat Benatar. I want to say
hit me with your best shot, but it'll be a remixed version of it.
Me with your best shot.
Oh, we're going for the creepy version, and then later in the film, when Skrnk is at his most like effervescent and outrageous, we'll do like the classic version of that song as well, so you know things are going well. All right, cool. Where were we? We were talking about getting back down to seriousness, the type of actors we need.
Yeah.
I really want to cast Kathy Bates because she just knocks it out of the park.
As woman in cafe.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go down the John F. Donovan route and just cast a ton of actors for no reason. In fact, I'm pretty sure the reason why most of these actors were cast is because the director's probably done stuff with all the other actors before. So
apparently the director of that film directed Adele's music video.
Yes.
And so Adele was going to make a cameo.
For reasons.
Who knows why Natalie Portman agreed to that film at all.
Maybe Michael Gambon was just the man in the restaurant on that day.
They went in there, were shooting a scene. It's like, hey, was that Michael Gambon in the back of our shots? Let's put him in the trailer, put him in the credits.
Apparently Xavier Dolan does the French voice of Ron Weasley in the Harry Potter films as well. So there's a tenuous connection there.
There you go.
Anyway, so we'll get Kathy Bates as woman in restaurant, I guess. No, it'll be a cafe in ours because it's a diner.
It's a diner.
It's a diner. It's absolutely a roadside diner. There's a fun scene where James Marsden pulls up to the diner. He and Skrnk gets out of the car, out of the ute, and they go inside and have a coffee. And then Kathy Bates just kind of looks over at the two of them.
I think Kathy Bates knows them. That's the roadside diner that they've been going to the year. And everyone, the tourists see and they see Skrnk and they're just like, is that a weird cartoonish prairie dog?
And Kathy Bates will just say, well, you ain't never seen a prairie dog before. And then that's it.
Yeah, that's
her
entire
line in the
film. But in a way where they expect him to be like all wacky and acerbic, and by 20 years later he's all just grizzled and he's just like, just leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got adamantium on my skeleton that's giving me cancer from the inside.
All right, so with the tornado, by the way, it's not that the government can create one at will. It's just that they've got one. They've only got one. And it's this one that they've been curating for years. It has intelligence. It has sentience. They keep it in a giant facility underground because it has to store an entire tornado that has to keep spinning. And then this tornado breaks loose. It runs, like, it blasts through the facility, sucks up a bunch of scientists. Do you want to do some gore in there too? Scientists being thrown into fans.
We chose Crawl as the film.
We did,
so there's definitely elements of the auxiliary law enforcement characters getting brutally smashed to pieces.
I like the idea of scientists and army personnel getting thrown into turbines.
Yep, absolutely.
Maybe that tornado's so vicious and so violent, kind of just rips the skin from their
right,
from their bodies.
I was
as well.
going the whole sort of they're spinning around and you see the tornado rip up a barn. And then the barn comes around and just broadsides.
That's absolutely I think that's going to happen
in the tornado
because the tornado. All right,
tornado, bro. Gotta ride it like a tornado.
Maybe that's the code name for the tornado that the scientists have come up with. It's tornado. And I also think that we can do fun things with a centrifuge kind of effect as well. Like a scientist goes in there, it gets sucked up into it, and then as part of the tornado kind of just rips him bit to bit, pulls out first his skin, then his bone, then muscles, and then bits of all gets nicely separated out in a nice fun gag before it's all then thrown out into the atmosphere.
I've justified this slightly in my own head by saying it's definitely nanobots, right? They've definitely created
nanobots have this is how they've been able to make such a violent and vicious tornado.
It's literally cloud intelligence.
Yep.
But made from nanobots in the cloud.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So when they escape into the actual environment, they can start.
So they used nanobots to capture the initial tornado that they.
I think the nanobots create the tornado through manipulating the weather and air particles.
Okay, cool.
But once they sort of get inside, I think they create the weather event.
Yep. And the reason it was nanobots is because the scientists or the government wanted the ability to turn it off.
Yes,
But then they found out that once they created it, they couldn't turn it off, so they just had to store it in this facility.
Any great research is hey, we've got the ability to hang on. This is what James Marsden's dad did. James Marsden had created this technology that had the ability to dissipate tornadoes. Tornadoes. Damn it, I said it again. As they're forming, you can send these nanobots into the atmosphere and stop the tornadoes. I said it deliberately that time.
Good.
From forming. And the military came in and they stole the technology.
They stole him. They stole the dad. They threw a blanket over him in the middle of the night. Who's our military leader is going to be Susan Sarandon. Why not?
Sure.
She can do Evil and Twisted. She comes in with her crew one night while James Marsden is asleep as a child. Then her crew comes in, drapes a blanket over the top of James Marsden's dad, hauls him off in the middle of the night. James Marsden as a kid's just left there.
Yeah, and one of the twists there is that, as it turns out, is Skrnk was in the cell next to James Marsden's dad in the prison facility.
Yep.
And they wrote letters back and forth between one another.
But Skrnk hasn't revealed that information to James Marsden yet.
It's actually turning into a bit of the death and life of JT Donovan or whatever it is.
All right, that's fine.
So it's a weird pan timeline story that's telling the story of in the facility, and then there's a story where the Skrnk and James Marsden meet one another. There's a 20 years in the future where they're chasing the artificial intelligence tornadoes. There's Sonic. We've really blended everything together. I reckon
Skrnk loses his memory as well.
Oh, right.
When he goes through the windshield of James Marsden's car, because he's just escaped from the facility, he's all disoriented, and then he hits the car, loses his memory.
Yeah.
And so he's only got flashes of his prior life. And then, he visits the home of James Marsden, sees an old photo of his dad.
Flashback.
And then he's just whoa, I just had a killer flashback. And anyway.
Yeah.
How do we end this?
That's a good question. Is it
self-sacrifice? Does Skrnk sacrifice himself? Or do we he maybe, I think he should.
Possibly. I mean, I've had this notion that there are nanobots that are creating the weather, but there's also nanobots in Skrnk's system that's sort of making him impervious and repairing the broken damage. And the only way to stop the weather is to sacrifice his own nanobots. And in doing so, he can stop the tornado, but he's sacrificing his own superpowers.
That sounds good. All right, fine. So does that mean that Skrnk survives at the end or not?
He does. I think he gets very badly injured. And there's a piece of barn that's through his shoulder, or whatever how we want to do that. And he heals and he wakes up and he's just a regular prairie dog again.
What if maybe not? Maybe
not. Twist.
Well, I wasn't going to say
Skrnk the hedgehog too. The prairie dog. Sorry.
Well, I wasn't even going to say twist. I was going to say actually no, it could be a twist. So what if we assume that James Marsden's dad died, but then right at the end, he's the one that rescues Skrnk out of the wreckage of the settled remains of the tornado. He pulls him out, able to fix him up because he's obviously a nanobot master. But I mean, does he become the big bad for the next film, or is he just I'm back, son?
I think so. I think we say that he's back, and then we do the twist in the second film.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of sequels and tie-ins. Our ideas are too big to contain within single films.
That's how Disney
I've
makes
also
money.
already half designed the platform video game of Skrnk the Prairie Dog, and all he does is just run forward. It's like, hey, there's an enemy, and he just doesn't care. He just runs through it. It's like if Mario had permanent star power. That's just what Skrnk is.
Yep.
So.
All right, that sounds great. Sounds so much fun. We'll make it a infinite runner mobile game as well.
Yeah,
that's
you've got to tie in with mobiles. Got to get your microtransactions in there.
Super easy to program that. You don't even have to program anything. Just let it do its animation, and off you go.
Yeah.
I think that right at the end, only the audience sees that James Marsden's dad hides a rogue nanobot inside Skrnk.
Yeah.
Which is what sets up the second film.
Yeah.
But James Marsden's just over the moon that his dad's back and everything's happy. And then the three of them sort of get back into the beat up ute, which is I think the running gag is that it gets more and more beat up. And now they're just driving a ute that has no panels on it whatsoever. And that's it. They drive off into the sunset. And then the film ends.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's a wrap on Skrnk the Prairie Dog.
So it's...
How do you spell Skrnk, by the way?
I mean, I suppose you actually have to write it as...
S-K-R-U...
No, R-R-N-K.
R-R... What?
There's no vowel.
There's no vowel. Okay, Skrnk. Okay, that works.
S-K-R-N-K. The Prairie Dog.
Perfect. Can't wait to translate that for other markets. And I think that's a wrap.
Yep.
Housekeeping, as per usual, we are online at moviefilmstudios.net, where you can find all of our previous episodes, our bios, and the database of films that we've created on this very podcast. Search Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for Movie Film Studios, and join and like us and subscribe and do all that social media stuff that we know so well. We do animations on Instagram every now and then. We do tweets on Twitter, and we do Facebooks on Facebook. If you'd like to see the two of us perform live, you missed it.
It was probably yesterday or the day before, depending on when the episode comes out.
So if you search for AJ and Isaac on Facebook, you'll find our Facebook page.
And then you can keep up to date when those performances are.
Exactly.
And not miss it like you did this week.
Indeed. Shame on you. If you have a furry little friend in your life and you'd like to give them a podcast to listen to, how about our one? You can find it on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much our website as well, and pretty much any other place that you find podcasts. And I think that's it.
All that remains is to thank you once again for listening this week. I've been Isaac.
And I've been AJ.
Roll credits.